Hey, this is Bruce Abbott.
And I'm Ray Shillings.
And welcome to Feel the Ad Love. Yes, a podcast produced by Radio Lounge featuring the inside scoop on advertising and marketing. And we've got guest interviews with some of the brightest minds in advertising. Now, each episode we explore current trends and cool stuff in advertising and marketing and the latest news and events in our ad community.
And I have questions, and I bet a lot of folks in the industry have questions as well.
I have all kinds of questions.
Do you? Well, hopefully we'll get some answers today as well. I mean, for instance, data-driven marketing, the ability to adapt what is paid, owned, and earned technology. Those are the things that go well beyond the day-to-day stuff. Well, I want to buy some radio commercials. I'm going to buy some TV, maybe some cable. That'd be a real good thing. You know what, folks? Maybe you know this already, maybe you don't, but advertising and marketing has moved so far beyond, it's probably for a lot of folks over the horizon for an understanding.
I do like that accent that you did for those. That was pretty cool, I will say. We're going to buy some radio. We're going to buy some television. We can get you a radio spot. How would Tuesday or Thursday work best for you?
I'm going to get you a 2-for-1 here.
2-for-1.
Anytime. So when we talk today with our guest, Alex Ramirez, CEO of T20 Media USA, man, this guy is talking over the horizon. It's not bleeding edge, but it's cutting edge, and it's understandable, and it makes sense, especially for what folks want to have happen today with their marketing and advertising. This is a great guy to get to know.
So, Alex, an agency from Spain ends up in Texas. How did that happen?
Why? Why?
How do you go from Spain to Texas?
Yeah, a lot of people ask that
Southwest.
question to us. So when we have been thinking about coming to U.S. for a while, and we actually came across the opportunity because one of our clients was working with a local agency. They just weren't getting it. Not just because they didn't perform as they were expecting, but because they had a lot of problems in regards to the time lag that there is between Europe and the U.S., language-wise, way of doing things, a way of even talking about marketing, which is different. So out of that, we tell them, let us handle your U.S. and Canada accounts. And they say, okay, but I want you to be there, right? And they say, okay, done deal, we're here. And that was basically what made us take the leap and come into the U.S. And then when we were scouting out, okay, so where do we land? Everyone was thinking about Miami, New York, or California, going to L.A. or maybe San Francisco. But eventually we thought about Texas because it's one of the best places to be nowadays in the U.S. It's one of the states that grows more. Houston, very multicultural. We have a 2-hour flight from Mexico City where we have an office with 60 people for the past 9 years. It just made sense for us. And we saw an opportunity as well because it's a port of entry for companies from Latin America and as a test for Europe as well because it's a big state to test. And so it just made sense. That's why we wanted to do it. So we're trying to help companies from Europe, from Latin America to come in, actually do it right, help them grow, and so that they understand that coming into the U.S. is not about just landing and getting rich. It's about doing things in a different way because it is a different 50 countries country. That's basically it. So you have to understand how things are done. Otherwise, it's just going to be a very burning and consuming thing for companies if they don't do it. And that's why.
You were talking a little bit off mic earlier about your roots being data-driven marketing, not necessarily the whole creative and content, but your big thing, you're not an advertising agency that uses data. You're really a data agency that uses advertising. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Since we started back in 2004, the first initial steps that the agency took was starting to work in the PPC area. Everything was very new. Oscar and Tomas was working on that. They went to Google and say, hey, we want to be your biggest client in Spain, just like that. Google was starting to actually even be in Spain. They didn't have offices at that time, and they say, well, who are you guys? And they say, we're just two guys that know about data. we know PPC is the first thing that start popping up in the digital side, and then we are just looking into being your best client and growing, and it's going to be all about technology. And that's how we started. That's basically how we started. And then out of that, since we have been working for the past 15 years, everything has been revolving around technology, data, audiences, and keeping the pace on how digital marketing has been growing, basically.
Did you guys know at that point in time that you were well ahead of the curve as it relates to marketing and advertising? Was that something you thought about, or did it just happen?
I don't think they actually did that. They were ahead of time. They just see an opportunity and they just went for it, and eventually it just worked out, I think.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So as we start talking about this and how you guys use data, so as you're looking at the new model here of advertising and marketing, and data is becoming just bigger in terms of the importance of that. For maybe smaller ad agencies, I mean, you guys have been to start with just 3, core, employees, and then to be able to expand in the way that you have. What can a smaller agency learn from you guys in terms of like your strategy, your data? And then I've got another question I want to ask you about this bowtie strategic approach of yours.
Yeah.
Well, that's basically the past 2-3 years, we have been focusing a lot on working on this new bowtie approach that as we speak. And it's basically a funnel process, right? If you go into the left side of that funnel process, which is bowtie, you will have the basics: awareness, interest, desire, and conversion areas, right? Very common. Mm-hmm. That's a very traditional model. Then if you go to the right side, that's where most of media agencies don't tend to go to, which is the loyalty side. And that's where you actually talk to your actual customers and get them to continue to purchase the products or services that you have, and not overspend more on acquiring new ones rather than having all that install base continue to grow, basically. So that loyalty side, which is upselling, cross-selling, marketing automation, which is a big boom since past couple of years, all that needs technology. And that's, if you talk to another agency that it's trying to go to that place, they will definitely maybe say, my biggest problem is actually understanding the process, getting the right tools and technology, and getting the right people to be able to pull this off. And that takes time, that takes money, that takes knowledge. So it's not, I don't think it's that agencies don't want to do it. It's just that it's not that easy. And
they don't understand
sometimes
it, maybe,
it's a case. Sometimes they do understand it, but they just don't. They have either the manpower or enough power on the technology side of knowledge to actually pull that off.
How can a brand, basically any brand, use influencer marketing, and why is that important for a brand to do that? So
when you think about brand awareness, basically you will think more on the traditional side of things, offline. So you're going to go on the radio, you're going to go on the TV, you're going to be on print, out of home. But when you start thinking about how the new age of people has changed, everything is about connection. It's about relations. Influencer marketing is all about that. So we have social media where we have a lot of people going in on a daily basis, but then we have a lot of people that are actually talking about topics and selling products because they have used them on an influencer marketing base. And that's the way to talk to audiences in another perspective. So it doesn't mean that you don't have to do TV, radio, or all these traditional media stuff, but you also need to have people on the other side, and that's where influencer marketing comes in. It's all about referring. It's all about listening about products, brands from other people that have actually used it, basically.
So where do you see advertising and marketing here in the future? I mean, what do you see as the next big thing? And maybe not even talking about as much about trends as even just maybe even philosophy. So where are you seeing this going?
I think that over the past years, when programmatic buying jumped in, that was a big game changer. That's when actually every type of media started to go more on the mainstream side of things, and you actually having the brands even being able to go into that and buy directly, right? It's happening. Mm-hmm. We media agencies now see some clients that actually jump in and say, I want to buy directly my display advertising or do things on my own. And that is something that we just can't stop. But what we can actually do is be there so that they continue and keep the pace and continue to actually grow with an understanding on how to do so. But that's a complicated part for companies sometimes, right? And if we definitely want to continue to be there, we have to be more on the consultancy side of things, where we actually help them shape things up. And if a company is undergoing a digital transformation process, we have to be there to be right with them and provide more than they actually can do it themselves. We have to be an extension of their marketing team instead of being just the agency or a vendor, which is the more traditional side of things. That's what we see. There's a lot of agencies in the U.S. shifting to that, and even big consultancy firms like Accenture and kind of this have gone into the digital landscape because of that, because they saw an opportunity, right? So it's a balance, and that's what we're trying to. That's a big shift nowadays.
Alex Ramirez is CEO of T20 Media USA. And on your website, you talk about the Tres Amigos of advanced television, connected, addressable, and programmatic linear. It says it goes far beyond the big networks, even farther than many options we now have available on satellite and the internet. Is this a big benefit in being able to target an end user? Or first of all, explain what you mean by Tres Amigos, connected, addressable, and programmatic.
So on the TV side of things, the most traditional way of buying, this is very old school, but it's still there. It's talking to a business rep from the TV station and say, hey, I want to be on TV. What do you have for me? Okay, so how much money you have? I have X money. And then out of that, they will send you, okay, this is the inventory that you can get. And then you go live. You build your spot. You come to an rigorous tool like this, and then you just put it out there.
Tried and true method there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The problem about that is that if I want to segment or target, how do I actually segment my targeting to an actual consumer when there's 4, 5, 6 people looking at the same screen at the same time? How do you actually use a spot that is targeted to each of that personas? That's the tricky part. So when digital TV, connected TV, addressable TV came in, that's when you actually go into the more targeted perspective, and then you can actually buy inventory in the digital spectrum to an audience and not everyone there, like the traditional media. So TV definitely works. It still generates a lot of traffic. It just generates a lot of awareness. But if you really want to target, you need to go on the digital side of things and then use technology for that. And that's what we're doing. We also buy offline, but we try to tie everything to a metric on a digital perspective and be able to actually trace how that's performing for the campaign.
That's an upside for the client. There's no doubt about that.
Conversations have always been an integral part of selling stuff. So how do chatbots and dialogue flow start a conversation, and how does that play into the whole marketing thing?
There's two main things that you are going to get out of a chatbot. And one is reduce the costs of having someone call you in. That's a call center part. It takes a lot of manpower and money for companies to actually be able to address all the questions that a consumer or a client that you already have has, or a new prospect has, right? So that's when chatbots appear and say, how do we optimize these processes? That's why chatbots actually came into play, right? So how do we streamline our communication so that we don't have everyone talking over the phone, basically? Now, if you go on the media side of things, how can we use chatbots to sell, right? We have worked with insurance companies, not here in the US, but in Europe, where we have put in place chatbots where we streamline the whole process of an insurance policy buying, basically. And that is asking for an insurance, getting the whole quote, and then even closing the deal directly in the chatbot. That's marketing. That's using technology and marketing all tied together to get business results in a way more efficient way. That's basically what chatbot is all about.
As a voice actor, I someday would like to ascend to the level of being a chatbot. But no, not really. Hey, you've linked avatars to successful digital marketing, Alex. How does that fit into a marketing plan?
It's very close to what the chatbot is, but basically the avatar, it's if you think about one of the most famous ones, you have the IKEA one, right? That avatar, it's actually giving that chatbot a personality and being able to relate to that persona. So if you go on a traditional media and you go into a celebrity, you get that person to go all the way in your campaign. In this case, you just have a celebrity that is digital and you give a persona out of that. And that's basically the avatars. But it's just the exact same thing about having a chatbot, but having a personality on top of that.
Wow. This is getting really deep in a good way. Okay. I like this. This is good stuff. Lots of businesses use AdWords to market their products and services, Alex. You have a solution for low traffic AdWord campaigns. Tell us more about that.
So when we started working on the PPC side of things, that was the first initial thing that we started doing, as I was telling in the beginning. There were different types of clients. So the ones that actually had big budgets that can afford to go on the what we call the killer keywords, which are the big volume keywords. But sometimes some clients don't have the budget, or the long tail is way more efficient for them because it's more targeted than the killer, and being able to get that needs technology because you're talking about millions of keywords. We have another company that's a sister company called Jot Internet Media, which they actually build tools for that, and they buy millions of keywords a day, and you need technology for that to be able to work. So even we always use the AdWords platform to buy, or the Bing one. We also use other technologies like marine software. We use Kensho. We use DoubleClicks, which now it's called Google Marketing Platform. And that is how we use technology to actually be able to break down all the campaigns in a way more granular way and with a lot more inventory than the regular 200, 5,000 or a million keywords, but more killer side of things. But that's basically what we do on the PPC side of things. And it's how we help companies grow. And sometimes it's about strategy as well. It's not just the budget. It's that maybe it's easier for us to conquer a territory by using a long tail approach more than a head tail approach. So it's just a matter of the strategy.
So has digital marketing driven a faster response rate when you compare it to traditional marketing? Are things happening faster?
I mean, digital has always been faster. I mean, things change on a daily basis. When you see any kind of tactic that we implement it today, and maybe in 2 weeks it's different already. I mean, that's where the agencies need to keep up the pace, and that's where we see that sometimes the client, even though they jump into doing things themselves, keeping the pace, it's complicated. It takes time. It's time consuming. It takes money in to actually get to that point. So we as agencies need to be helping them keep the pace, continue to grow, understand those changes. And the good thing about agencies as us is that we are able to access a lot of data from the different vendors, where we have beta testings, where we have different approaches that maybe for an actual client it's a little bit more complicated to test. So
using your time machine, looking into the future there at T20, what's the next big solution that you have on the horizon for your clients?
Well, that's an interesting question. We have been working for the past 3 years now on an AI solution. We have put in place that for some clients. One big hotel chain has already gone into that with us. We are already in a 89-90% prediction rate. That's actually getting a new visitor to the website and being able to predict if on the second visit it's going to actually convert, which is very powerful. And so we're building a solution out of that. I can't disclose too much of it, but we should have that live at 1 year, I think. And it's going to be a game changer for what we're doing, definitely.
From our interview today, you can obviously tell that Alex is a metalhead. What? No, he's not. Yes, he is. So what's your favorite metal band, Alex?
I've been into Metallica since I was like 5 years, I was living close to a neighbor that was listening to them like almost daily. And so I eventually just become a big Metallica fan, and I will continue to do so.
And if you look at Alex, he just doesn't look like somebody But you know what?
Oh.
He rocks.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Very good. Hey, Alex, you are a fresh face, a fresh idea company. It's so good to have you here in the Houston market as well. And obviously, because this is a podcast, lots of folks around the world are hearing this as well. But I'm glad you're in Houston. I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing. T20media.com. Alex Ramirez, the CEO. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me in, and it was a pleasure talking to you guys.
So Bruce and Ray saying thank you for listening to Feel the Ad Love.
Now be sure and visit our website. It is radioloungeusa.com.
And you can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or via RSS so you never miss a show.
And while you're at it, if you found value in the show and you learned something, maybe we hope you did, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply like to tell a friend about the program and share it on social media, that would be even cooler.
Very cool. Copyright 2019 Radio Lounge, all rights reserved.
Join us next time for another episode of Feel the Ad Love. We'll see you soon.